Do you get angry easily? Well, stick with me and I'll show you exactly how to work through anger. I'm good at this. At the end, I'll tell you about a time where I was fed up with FedEx when I was working at Quicksilver. And I'll give you another time, because I did poorly on that one, where I did better and I used anger in an appropriate way. So, first, let's talk about where anger comes from. Anger comes from really a secondary emotion. It's a response to something that's a core issue. You need to understand what that core issue is before you can understand why you're reacting to anger. Anger is not apparent when there is not something underlying. Is this a thing that is making you feel stupid? Is this a thing that's making you feel scared, sad? Whatever that emotion is that you don't like, that's your reaction to anger. Is this unjust? That's where it comes from. When we are just in anger, not recognizing that our anger is a response to this situation, we can lose track of ourselves. We can lose track of our goal and what we want to get to and where we want to go. And I see this happen all the time. People become angry in a conversation. They're trying to get something accomplished, but in their anger, they begin fighting about an issue that is not related to the core piece at hand that we want to solve. Putting kids to bed. Go to bed. No, Daddy. Go to bed. No, Daddy. Right? 5 minutes later, have you gotten ready for bed? No, Daddy. And then you get angry, right? Or what they don't say no, Daddy, what they'll do. So if you say, are you going to go to bed? They'll say, but Daddy, I haven't done my homework yet. And they start arguing, right? Then you're talking about homework, or you're talking about something else that is not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is go to bed. But you're now fighting about homework with your child instead of staying there because you're frustrated, they're not listening to you, you're talking about homework now. This is something we do when we don't understand the core issue behind why we're frustrated and angry. When we do, then you can say to your child, go to bed. And you can recognize when they say, but I got homework. I'm tired of you avoiding me. I know that you have been doing this all night, right? These are the things you can tell yourself because you've not done your homework yet, it's too late, and I just want you to obey me now and go to bed because I'm tired from a long day. These are the things you can recognize in yourself, and it can calm you. The fact that you recognize it will calm your anger, allow you to face the situation with a greater capacity to get done what you need without resorting to shouting or frustration and just saying, oh yeah, this is frustrating me for this reason. Okay, I'll let it go. When you then have that core issue really ferreted out so you know what's inspiring your anger, you also want to take a look at situations that ignite your anger, triggers that you have. What are the situations that you put yourself in that you know if they happen, you're like, oh, I'm probably going to light up. Play those out, especially if you have time, right? If you have time to prepare for a conversation with someone that you know is going to be difficult because their situation is one which ignites your anger, understand what it is, the story that you're telling yourself that says, this deserves anger. What is that story? And then consider the fact that that story may not be the full picture. Let your judgment and your anger drop. This is the left side of your brain, which has all the defined boxes that are very clear and actionable for you in saying, this is the behavior that you see, this is what it is, and this is how we act. When you give into that, you can miss the nuances of the situation. And you need to pull away from that anger to be curious, to say, maybe my stories aren't accurate. What could be the story that would allow this person to act in this way that is so bothering me? So ways to overcome anger if you're in it. If you're feeling that anger already, it's ignited in you, you know you've got to deal with it, but it's there. You can practice self-soothing. This is the internal conversation. You can do it out loud. You can even, honestly, rub yourself with your hands. The ability to calm ourselves just by touching is significant. It will help you relax. You can just say, oh man, I'm feeling angry. It's okay, you know, like, oh, I'm so frustrated. And as you do this, it will calm you. Self-soothing, speaking words that will help you. Relaxing, lie down, take a beat, step out of this anxiety building situation. Move away from what that is and take a break to relax. And then if that still doesn't do it, try some meditation. Sit down on the chaos of all of what's going on in your mind and breathe and allow those thoughts to run free without being taken away in them. Identify what they are, how they are. Breathe deeply. There's breathing exercises that can help you get out of anger too. These are things that when you do will drop you out of that ignited situation, which is very, very difficult to navigate when you're in with any sort of real understanding, right? When you're in that fight or flight of anger, your prefrontal cortex is not engaged. You are acting habitually based on past experiences, acting on what the past has informed you is happening now. Yet that is not necessarily true. How do you meet that with a prefrontal cortex that is engaged enough to see the nuance of this new situation if you're in anger? You can't. You have to drop it so that you can meet it with curiosity. That's why the best fighters in the world don't get angry when they fight. They stay cool. They stay aware. They stay curious. They adapt to the situation. They fight, they get the job done, but they are not enraged with anger. So you understand then that anger is a tool to be used, and you understand when it doesn't serve you in the situation you're in. There are times when the full rage of your life should be there if you are being attacked, surprised by an animal, a human. Rage, fight, scream, do that thing that you need to do, let it go. However, when you're not in that situation, it most likely won't serve you. And I'm going to give you two stories. The first one, I was working at Quicksilver. I was managing a clothing line. FedEx was my main carrier. We shipped so much product with FedEx every day. They were very interested in taking care of us. However, I kept having problems when I shipped products internationally to our sponsored athlete, that stuff getting through the border. And I was following the guidelines by FedEx and what they said they needed to do to get the stuff through. And I had mailed a package of clothing to Ernie Els, who was the number 2 golfer in the world at the time. He was starting a tournament. He needed these clothes. And I wanted them there early because I was worried that FedEx wouldn't get them there and give myself some time. And I found out one day before his tournament was the next day that his clothes were stuck in the border once again. And I was furious because they had come in and done all this work promising me that if I did these steps, it would get through. And here it was, hung up at the border once again. And I could use DHL, and they got it through every time. I never had a problem. And I'm thinking to myself, why do I have these guys shipping for me when DHL can do it without any problems? And I got on the phone and I started talking to these managers, manager after manager, escalating, trying to get stuff done, and they're trying to deny that it's a problem. And I don't have time to wait because I got to get those clothes there by the next day, and they're not resolving the issues for me in the way that I want them to be resolved. I've tried multiple times to do this, and it's not working, and I end up just losing my cool. I am screaming at these people, we will never do business with you again, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? FedEx came in with a whole team the next day, and they did all the stuff they needed to do to make sure that we were okay, and they resolved their issue. I ended up shipping my package overnight with DHL. It got there on time. There was no issue. Ernie Els was fine. But the rest of my day, after yelling at FedEx, I was filled with the turmoil of that anger in me. I was bothered by it. I was embarrassed by the way I treated these people that, they didn't deserve to be yelled at like that. I also was working with customers that would sometimes yell at me, and I always thought it was crazy that they would do that. Why couldn't they just talk to me? And here I had done the same thing. My anger had consumed me. I had acted, and while I got what I wanted, the residual impact of that anger on me disturbed the whole day that I was in. I had not needed that level of anger. I had not needed it to get the job done. I could have done it. I could have recognized and said to them calmly, I'm frustrated. This has made me really angry, and I expect results, or I will not do business with you. Fix this, or we're done. And that's simple. But I went at it. I wanted them to feel my pain. Whew, it was ugly. And I felt bad about it. And to this day, I think about that interaction. It stays with me. Another time, I was coming off the highway into a three-way stop. I did not have a stop sign, but the cars coming into the off-ramp did. As I was about to go through the intersection, coming off the off-ramp, somebody ran through their stop sign, thinking that I had a stop sign, and flipped me off. I do not like to be flipped off when I am definitely not in the wrong. It ignited within me my sense of righteous indignation. I rolled down my window. I was going to unleash on this motherfucker and let him know how bad I was and how angry I was at, and I was going to destroy them, all that stuff that comes with road rage, right? And I had it. And as I was about to do this, I looked up in the mirror, my rearview mirror, and sitting there in between my seats in the back was my 2-year-old boy looking at me with a smile on his face, kind of turning concerned because he could see my affect changing. And I thought, I can't unleash on this person. This is an example that will not upset only me, but it'll upset my son. And when I thought of how that witnessing my anger could disturb him, I was able to let it go, recognize, yeah, that was unjust, that was stupid, he's gone, I don't even need to respond. And I let the anger go, and I was amazed at how great I felt. I'm like, I just had a road rage experience that could have stayed with me the whole day for all I know, at least for a couple hours. I would have been amped up and would have impacted my son in the same way. And I changed that behavior by identifying, hey, this is not a space I need to react. I can let this go. I knew I was angry. I knew why I was angry. I had a kid behind me and I didn't want to feel that, and I changed the behavior. So if you want to use anger to your benefit, try these steps, learn how to settle in, accept that anger is worthwhile in the right situation. Accept that you feel it, accept that it's there, and understand the true emotion behind what is hitting you, and you can change your profile how anger works for you instead of against you. Hope you like it. I'm James Burnham. Thanks for watching this video.